Hey, good morning. It's Adam with Theros Media, and today we're looking at Southern Coast Services for daily Google Ads breakdown. So we're looking at their company, see how they're advertising for the keywords they're going after, and then we're going to take a look and see how we can improve their advertising, or how we would if they were a client of ours. So first things first, they're advertising for a mini split. So the keyword is ductless mini split installer in Hollywood, Florida. And they do a pretty good job with their ads, calling everything out for their services. And they're advertising to a ductless page, which is great. A lot of times we see that people aren't advertising to the pages that they're going after, which is good. The page leaves a little bit to be desired. It's really, really text heavy. And I can imagine on a mobile screen, this is not going to look very good. But if it works for them, it works for them. I'm not gonna, if it converts, then it converts. So I'm not really worried about it too much. I would be worried about making sure you're testing the conversion rate on the page to see if it actually does convert for your audience. Now, when you go to the page, there's a bunch of pop-ups that come up. This screen pops up right here, and it's really distracting. A lot of times on mobile, chat isn't really the best thing, but we will see, or they can see for themselves. Now, the first critique of the page, I'd make this a landing page. So especially if you're advertising, you can segment the traffic that's coming from your Google Ads based on the UTMs you put in your keywords, or you put in the UTMs you put in your URL when you're advertising. So segment that out. You can do that quickly with Google Optimize. Google Optimize lets you take out basically whatever you want. It said what you see is what you get. Optimizer, kind of like all of them are, but it lets you segment the traffic depending on where it's coming from. And if you're running Google Ads, you can segment, hey, Google Ads, show this version of the page. I would test out getting rid of the header versus keeping it in. I can imagine that this right here on desktop and mobile kind of gets in the way of people converting on this page. Every time you click on a button, it's a pop-up, which is great. I recommend that a ton. And you have a click to call button here, which is great for your landing page as well. So that's the only thing I really recommend on this page, other than trying out different layouts of the landing page. This is kind of a generic landing page. We see a ton for the company that's advertising for this Southern Coast Services. So the agency advertising uses this page pretty much on everything, all the advertisements that they do, which is not a good or a bad thing if it works, but it's just kind of I'd say it'd be a little bland, and if they're not testing it out, then it's kind of, I'll leave that alone. Anyway, test out the header, make it an actual landing page, see if people convert a little higher, because you don't want them going off onto different pages on the website, especially if you're paying for them to come to the website. Now, the Google My Business and the Google homepage looks great. You are advertising for your brand name, which is great. It's highly recommended, especially for HVAC companies. Usually you have your brand name inside usually have your search terms inside your brand name. So having a brand campaign is awesome. It'll bring in the searches that you are. I don't see anybody else advertising yet, but a lot of times, Coast Plumbing. So you have plumbing in your brand name. Coast Services. So I don't see that many people advertising for your brand name just because of how it's worded. But a lot of times, most of the time, if you're an HVAC company, you have some form of heating and cooling in your brand name. It's always recommended to have a brand campaign for those type of companies. Now, your Facebook looks pretty good as well. It's updated every couple of days, which is great. The only thing that we'd recommend is retargeting. So if you're bringing in people from your Google Ads, you do want to retarget them around the internet, and Facebook's usually the easiest way to get started. It takes a lot less people on Facebook to retarget than it does on Google and Google properties. I think Google it depends on what network you're going after, but usually around 1,000 people to retarget. Facebook's only 25, so you can advertise to everybody who's coming to your ductless page that hasn't converted with a Facebook ad, so they can go back to your ductless page and convert. Other than that, everything looks pretty good for their as far as their advertisements go. They're all going to built out pages. I mean, all the pages look like this, but they're all going to built out pages that look like they're built to convert. I just test out the header versus not having it. Inside Google Optimize, you can get rid of it, and then no one will be the wiser. But other than that, I mean, everything looks pretty good. There's one stat for landing pages, though. Landing pages usually have a 500% increase in conversions over a regular website page, and a landing page with a header versus landing page without a header. Landing page with a header has 100% or 50% decrease in leads than a landing page without a header. So you can literally double the leads coming into from your advertisements if you get rid of the header. That'd be the test I'd make inside Google Optimize. Test one versus the other to see what one converts the most, and then use that for your advertisements. Typically, we see the header, getting rid of it converts the best, and then we build out separate landing pages for all that. But for you, we test it out. So anyway, hopefully this helps you. Take it and make more money with it, and we'll talk to you soon.